How are you, Garima, Ayushi? How are you guys? So today is our last class. I hope so far you have understood what we have taught you, right? And do good in exams. You all are very amazing and very, very intelligent. I must say that. So today is the written communication part. I have sent you the links that is for reference. I have already shared and I have sent it twice. Please check in the chat box. Yes, written communication again is very, very important as oral communication. I have already sent. I have sent twice in the chat box. Please check. Now, what is written communication? So far, we have done oral and verbal, non-verbal, everything, right? Now, what is written? What is written communication? I'll send it again at the end of the lecture. Please don't keep pouring in messages about the links. I've already sent it. I've sent it twice. And check in the chat box. Okay. I'll send it at the end of the lecture. Okay. Thank you. Now, so far we have done. Please concentrate on the lecture. Concentrate, improve your listening skills. So you don't have to go through the सब कुछ आपको तैयार चाहिए ऐसा नहीं है. Listen to the what we are saying very carefully. Try to retain the steps, try to retain the words, or if possible you can note down the bullet points, right? That is important. Written material you can get anywhere from anybody, but what is important is about the communication skills, that is your listening skills, which we have done oral part. Now we are doing the written part. What is written communication? What is written? Yes, messages by writing. But is only writing enough? We are writing, we are texting. Is that enough, or there are certain rules which we must follow when we are writing? Are there certain rules? Yes, there are, and we have to follow that. There is formal and informal writing. Yes, good, Ria. Yes. So what is written communication? Written communication it's a formal means of communication wherein message is carefully drafted and formulated in written form. It is kept as a source of reference or legal record, right? So is there any difference between oral communication and written communication? Is there any difference between oral and written? Okay. Okay, fine. First, we'll do what is written communication, rules which we should follow while we are writing, the formal letters or the business letters. Then we'll see the difference between oral and written communication. So you can check your links, or you can open the PDFs, or you can just listen to me so that your listening skills are also checked. You can write down the bullet points to understand the difference between just hearing and listening. That is important. Even if you don't have the links, you don't have the PDFs, you can listen to me carefully. You can write down the important points. That is enough. Listening is more important, right? So first, the principles we should follow for effective written communication. That is, first is write coherent sentences. Coherent means consistent, which are logical or ordered. It should be consistent. Write coherent sentences. Make sure each sentence is complete and devoted to one topic only. When we are writing, we have to make sure that we are writing, each sentence is complete and devoted to one topic. We should not divert from the topic. We have started something else and we are ending up at something else. It should not be like that. So you have to make sure that the topic you have started, your content is related to that only. Do not divert from the topic. So first principle is write coherent sentences. Like for example, the sentence is, I like reading, horse riding, and I also work as a security guard. Do you think it's a complete sentence? Do you think it's a complete sentence? No. I like reading, I like horse riding, and I work as a security guard. Now, what is the flaw in this sentence? What is the flaw in this sentence? You started with one topic about your hobbies. You're ending up here. You are working as a security guard, right? So, correct answer is correct sentence should be I work as a security guard. Full stop. In my spare time, I like reading and horse riding. So you have to divide it into two sentences so that the other person can understand what you are trying to say, what you are trying to write. If you will write, I like horse riding, I like reading, and I work as a security guard, that is completely incorrect sentence. The correct one is segregate this, right? Keep the topics differently, like separately. I work as a security guard, and in my spare time, I like reading. You are telling your hobbies. First, you are telling what you do. Then you are telling what you do in your spare time. What are your hobbies? So make it two sentences. First is, I work as a security guard, full stop. Then in my spare time, I like reading and horse riding. That is the correct sentence. So first principle is write coherent sentences. Do not divert from the topic. If you want to tell the other person 100 things, so do it differently, do it separately. Do not mix the things. Other person will not be able to understand what you are trying to say, what you are trying to write. Okay, he'll not get it. Now, this is about the sentence. Second is write coherent paragraphs. When you are writing a single sentence, then also you have to take care. When you are writing paragraphs, then also write coherent paragraphs in the same way. So example here is given. My hobbies are reading and horse riding. I like reading novels, science fiction. I read at least one book every month. Riding horses is another hobby that I enjoy. Every weekend I jump on my horse and steer it into the desert. Desert in Arizona is quite different from the desert in New Mexico, right? So if you have read this paragraph, this is the incorrect one. I'm not able to get it what he's trying to write. No one would be able to understand. So what is the correct form? So the principles here given are, the paragraph above discusses one's hobbies. This is the main topic. This is, we are doing written communication. We are doing written communication. This is the last part of your communication part. This is the last lecture. You must be knowing that. So you just listen to me, write down the bullet points. First point is, when we are writing in a professional way or otherwise also, what principles should we follow when we are writing something? See, it is also a part of communication. For effective written communication, certain principles have to be followed. First is write coherent sentences, means write ordered sentences, write consistent sentences. Do not divert from the topic you have started. You should follow that only. If you want to write something else, do it separately. So the paragraph above discuss one's hobbies, that is the main theme, hobbies. That person is telling his hobbies. So that is the main topic or theme of the paragraph. Now the last sentence, desert in Arizona, is quite different from the desert in Mexico. That is that deviates from this main topic, this has to be removed from the paragraph. Now you understand how we should write. The main paragraph refers to one's hobbies. The last line, that is totally out of the context, about the desert in Arizona and desert in New Mexico. So that line should be removed from the paragraph. So write coherent paragraphs. Okay. Next is use short sentences. Do not try to write stories in the sentence, in one sentence. Keep it very short. Keep it specific, to the point. Yes. Now, using short sentences make it easier for the reader to understand the intended message. Every long sentence can be broken down into several short sentences and simple sentences. For example, we are taking the same example. I like horse riding since horses are very energetic, yet at the same time caring animals. Now, is this a correct sentence? No. Keep it short. How? I like horse riding, full stop. So that, see, you are writing to make other person understand. You are not writing for yourself. If you are writing for yourself, you can write it anyway, because only you know what you are writing. You know your code words. Only you can understand. But when you are writing for other person, to communicate with other person, certain principles have to be followed. One of them is choose short sentences. I like horse riding. I like riding horses, full stop. They are very energetic animals, full stop. Horses are also very caring. Is there any difference between the incorrect one and the correct one? Can you see the difference? I like horse riding since horses are very energetic, yet at the same time caring animals. No one would be able to understand what you are trying to say. I like horse riding, full stop. Yes, make it short. Out of the very lengthy sentences, long sentences, try to break it, okay, in short sentences so that other person can understand you. I like horse riding, full stop. They are very energetic animals, full stop. And horses are also very caring, full stop. Now the other person can understand it very easily. Yes, connectivity should be there. Good. Next principle is be specific. Be specific means be to the point. Just write what is the subject, what you want to convey to the other person. Be specific, to the point. Do not keep on writing stories and the past happenings, past events. No, always stick to the point. That should be your way of answering when you will write this entrance examination, that is the MCQ based. When you will write the next level exams of CS or anything, wherever you go, when it is subjective type, you have to write lengthy answers. Then also for CS also, please take care. You have to be to the point. Be specific. What the question is asking, just write that only. Do not write like in history or any other exam. We keep on writing कि जितने हम पेज भरेंगे उतने हमें marks मिलेंगे. See, that is not there in professional exam. You have to be very clear. Okay, if there is any doubt, we'll keep on answering. We'll keep writing stories and past events, this and that, just to make the answers lengthy, just to fill up the pages so that examiner can give jitne page hain utne marks milenge. It's not the case in a professional exam. You have to be very specific. See, we have the experience when we were doing CS and we used to write exams. So if we wrote the lengthy answers, unnecessary points, just to make the answer lengthy, so examiner used to cut that part and he used to cut our marks. Be specific. जो पूछा है वही लिखना है. Similarly in the interview, while you are giving the interview, whatever is being asked from you guys, please answer. Please be specific. Do not bring stories from here and there. They don't like it. Okay? Be specific. Unless they ask, don't answer. Unless they ask for other things, do not answer. Be specific. Okay? Now, example. Incorrect one is several organizational units are currently facing certain issues with respect to new managerial approaches implemented by new leadership. Sentence given is several organizational units are currently facing certain issues with respect to organizations which they are facing certain issues with respect to new managerial approaches. कुछ नई मैनेजरियल अप्रोचेस आई हैं फिलोसफीज हैं, उसकी वजह से ऑर्गेनाइजेशन यूनिट्स दे आर फेसिंग सर्टेन इश्यूज. दिस इज द incorrect one. Now the correct one you can see is the new okay, can you give me the correct one for this? Can we try? Can we try to rewrite this? Be specific. Try to write it. Yes, is there anybody who could write it correctly? Yes, Riddhi, please. Several organizational units, I am repeating, several organizational units are currently facing certain issues with respect to new managerial approaches implemented by the new leadership. This is, here we have to use the principle be specific. Can you rewrite the sentence? Several organizational units. Yeah. Let's try. Yes, you're trying. Yes, you're right. Now, what he's saying, there is much ambiguity in this message. The sentence above should be rewritten to include specific details. What specific details? So you have to be specific. The new president decreased budgets for the IT and marketing department. As a result, both departments laid off people and cancelled all new projects. Yes, you are right. Yes. Okay. Yes, yes. Okay. Next principle. Yes, you are right. Yes. Yes, Riddhi. Yes, right. Okay. You have to be specific. Do not keep on writing or bringing in unnecessary events or happenings to your communication part, right? When you are writing, be specific. Whatever is being asked, just answer that. Next is omit redundant words. Omit means remove. Omit redundant words. Redundant means excess. Redundant means unnecessary, जो unwanted है. Yes, good. Redundant words. Whenever you write, if you feel there are some unwanted words, remove that. Unneeded. Yes, unwanted or excess words. Now, the example sentence here is based on what I have read in the book and my understanding of the material. I think it can be recommended that ABC Corporation should consider acquiring and implementing a new enterprise system. The sentence is incorrect. One is, based on what I have read in the book and my understanding of the material, I think it can be recommended that ABC Corporation should consider acquiring and implementing a new enterprise system. Now, there are many unwanted or redundant words which can be avoided. The correct one is ABC Corporation should implement an enterprise resource planning system. Try to keep it short and simple. Okay, principle number 3, what we did, use short sentences. Principle number 6, keep it simple. Try to use the language as simple as other person can understand it very easily. Try to keep it simple. Right? If one wants to make his or her message easy to understand, then simple sentence structures and simple vocabulary should be used. You see, we should not try to use such words, difficult words from the dictionary. We just want to show off. For that, we use, very heavy words of vocabulary, which other person may not understand. So try to keep it simple, as simple as possible. Use simple vocabulary. When you are writing, use simple words, very common words which other person can understand. Yes, your communication skills improve with the vocabulary, knowledge of vocabulary, but you have to see where to use and before whom to use, right? That is the rule when you are writing, or even when you are speaking. Try to use vocabulary as simple as common words as you can, which other person can understand easily. It should not be like that he's referring dictionary again and again to understand your words. These are the rules of writing. Keep it simple. Now the sentence is, this system is designed with the aim of helping improve the efficiency, effectiveness with which people find parking spots in the Central Business District of Chicago. Such a lengthy word. This system is designed with the aim of helping improve the efficiency, effectiveness with which people find parking spots in the Central Business District by Chicago. The correct one is, this system will make parking in Chicago downtown easier. You see, out of 3 sentences, 3 lines, he has made one, and that one sentence conveys the meaning completely. So we should be an expert at that, how to write. Okay, one line, this system will make parking in Chicago downtown easier. That's it. Principle number 7, which is very, very important, always try to use active voice. There is active and passive voice. Always try to use active voice. That is the rule of written communication. Always try to use active voice. Use active voice to make the message simple and direct. Now the incorrect one is, active voice should be used in sentences, right? Correct one is, use active voice in sentences, simple. Okay. Incorrect is, active voice should be used in sentences. The correct one is, use active voice in sentences. Very simple. So always try to use, when you are writing or you are even in oral communication, try to use active voice. I'll tell you the reason later on. Note that second sentence is short and has a simple grammatical construction. Right? Principle number 8, avoid jargons, idioms, acronyms, and cultural references. Avoid jargon. What are jargons? They are the slangs. We use slangs quite often, right? What are idioms? We know what idioms are. Acronyms, the short forms like CS, right? CS. It's an acronym of Company Secretary, Chartered Accountant, CA. They are acronyms, short forms. Yeah. Jargons are slangs. We quite often use the slangs and we think we are speaking very good English when we use slangs. Other person may not know it. So avoid jargons, idioms, acronyms, and cultural references to make the intended message easy to understand for a broader audience. In some situations, jargon, idioms, cultural references can make message easier to understand. They can also make message more vivid and memorable. All this happens under the condition that the writer and his or her audience share common professional linguistic cultural background, where you can use the slangs and jargons or jargons, idioms, acronyms, where the audience you are sitting with or where you are speaking, that is common. You are in the same profession, like with CS, with the CS, we can use, see, like for example, if I'm sitting with the CS, I can use the language like, or the article, if I'll say section, this says this, I don't have to explain to the person, to other CS, section this of what, right? So he will understand easily what I'm talking. Section this of Companies Act says this. Yes, if we use the words Company Law Tribunal, CLT, and CLT, yes, good example you gave. So the person we are sitting, the group we are sitting in, or the person we are talking to, if we are in the same profession, we share the same language and cultural background, right? We can use these jargons, idioms, acronym, cultural references. But when with audiences altogether new, they don't understand our jargons. We should avoid all such type of stuff with them. Jargons, idioms, acronyms, and cultural references. He may ask you, what is CS? Then you will have to explain. What is CS? So it's better to write the full form only. Within bracket, you can do CS. Yes, many people misunderstand what CS is. Still, in these days also, when the profession, it is very common, CS is very, very common now. Everybody knows that. Still, if you say CS, yes, they may understand computer science. If you tell them company secretary, what they may think, 50% of the population, they think what company secretary is. It is a secretary to the boss, then you have to explain to them what CS is. Right? Since CA is very, very common, so everybody understands CA. But when you say CS, but at our times we used to explain to them what CS is. At that time also, even after telling, they did not people could not understand what CS is. So if you have to, when writing, this is the principle, use full forms. Within bracket, you can write CS, company secretary, within bracket CS, things like that. Sometimes you may have to use idioms also. You may have to use, but write the English meaning of, or the English translation within brackets so that the other person understands. Like if we are writing something, if we are writing Shashwat, at times we use Hindi words only, but what we can do, we can write within bracket, we can translate that into English, and so that other person can understand. We are in Shashwat, within bracket you can write eternal, right? Sometimes when you will read the spiritual books or you write something spiritual stuff, you are writing spiritual stuff, you use Hindi words. We use that, Hindi words. But within bracket, we should give the English translation also so that the other person can understand what we are trying to say. We do bhakti. We write bhakti. Now you can write bhakti, Bhakti, but within bracket write devotion also, so that other person can understand. Right? Yes. Next is structure the writing. Principle number 9. Structure the writing. Any written message should have a simple and clear logical structure. A well-structured message has a built-in roadmap for the reader to follow. Write simple and clear logical. The written message should have simple and clear logical structure. One should always put some thought into the structure of a paragraph and a report. Right? Structured and logical message. Example is, why do you like living in Murray? Why do you like living in Murray? So, the answer, first, I like living in Murray because of great weather and wonderful people. Right? Now, explain this statement by breaking it down into 2 subpoints and discussing each of subpoints in more detail. For each of the subpoints, you can provide additional details to make your subpoints more understandable. In simple words, explain these points. Now, explanation of subpoint 1, it's great. Why like living in Murray? Because of great weather. Now, explain the great weather. Then explain the wonderful people. Then, at the last, you can see weather and people make Murray a perfect place to live in. Now, he has made it converted into a full paragraph. You can go through this, how to write. Principle number 10, put important things first. Yes, it is very, very important. You are writing unimportant things first. Other person may get disinterested. Write important things first, so that he gets interested into the message. Then you can add your other liners also. So it is very important to write the essence of message. Now the essence of message should be stated upfront. The first part of the message should contain not only the main idea but also a brief justification as to why the message is important. Okay. Clearly articulate the importance of message can motivate the readers to understand, remember the message. All the details, clarification, examples should follow the main message, not precede it. Always remember, put important things first. The message you want to convey, the essence of message, that should be conveyed first. Yes. Then you can, after writing that, the other person, when he starts getting interested into your message, yes, what are you trying to say? What do you want to convey? When he starts getting interested, then in next paragraph, you can add other things also. Because once the, एक momentum बन जाता है reading का. When he gets interested, momentum is made. He can read your unimportant part also. But if you start with the unimportant things, he may get disinterested. He will not go further. He will not read your important message then. So, always write important things first. Next is avoid strong claims and hypes. Yes, we should avoid strong claims and hypes in formal writing. Unless and until we have solid evidence or proof, we should not write any hype or claim. We should not claim anything. We should avoid strong claims and hypes unless and until we have solid proof or evidence for those hypes or claims. Try to keep it as simple as possible. Now the sentence which is incorrect is customer relationship management, CRM system. See, the way it is written, you can write like this. If you want to, you know, acronyms, the short forms, when you can write the short forms after writing the full form, that is the way to write customer relationship management CRM within bracket. Systems are without any doubt the most effective solution for improving customer service. Now, what is the hype or claim here? Without any doubt, the most effective solution. They are the claims and the hypes. Without any doubt. Unless and until you have any proof of without any doubt, only then you write without any doubt. And the most effective solution. Again, you should have the ground for that. That this is the most effective. Hypes means you are creating hypes, or you are talking big. Like the media, it creates hype. Right? Of corona, media made a hype of corona. People say that you're talking big about something. That is hype. Media creates hype, you know that, of the things. Okay, hype. So you are creating, avoid strong claims and hypes. Now, without any doubt, the most effective solution, you are creating hype without any doubt, and you are making claims, the most effective system. Do you have any proof of that? Do you have any ground on the basis of which you are talking this? You are writing this? If you have, then you can write, because then you have to attach the evidence also that this research says, which is an authenticated research. On the basis of this research, we can write, we can claim this thing. If you don't have, do not write that. Now the correct sentence is without claiming any hype or without any big claims. See, without any doubt, the most effective solutions are very strong claims that needed to be backed up by strong evidence. Again, as I told you, you should have some ground for what you are saying, what you are writing. In the absence of such evidence, these claims should be removed from the sentence. So, what we try to do sometimes, just to make an impression of ourselves, that I know this thing, I know this much. We try to write unnecessary things also. That I have more knowledge. But the other person sitting, the person who is reading all this stuff, he may ask you, do you have any proof of that? Then will not have anything. What to say? Yes, I heard from somebody. I read it somewhere. You can't say that. You should have proof. See, that is the way a professional should be. You should follow the principles of everything. That is the code of conduct. That is very, very important. So, customer relation management, CRM systems can improve customer service. We can only say this, that CRM systems can improve customer service. That is enough. Again, next is be factual. Always write, as I said, on the basis of facts only. Be factual. Just to create an impression. Do not write anything for which you do not have any ground. In order for writing to be effective in transmitting useful information, one needs to concentrate on facts. Try to separate facts from emotions and interpretations of those facts. Now, the incorrect one is, being the wise man he is, Warren Buffett quickly bought the stock of Goldman Sachs. Okay. In this sentence, only the fact that Warren Buffett bought stock of Goldman Sachs is a real world fact. Whether he bought stock quickly and whether he is a wise man are both personal judgment or interpretation. So, avoid your personal judgment about anything. Your emotions, keep your emotions, your personal judgment aside and write on the basis of facts only. Be factual. You know, you're writing that gives impression about your personality. The one who is expert at it. By writing, people can judge your personality. There are certain handwriting experts also. Who can judge your personality by your writing? How emotional you are, what type of person you are. People can judge you through your handwriting. So be be careful, very careful while you are writing. So follow these principles. Be factual. Keep your emotions and personal judgments, opinions aside, and talk on facts. Now, the correct one is Warren Buffett bought the stock of Goldman Sachs. That is enough. Next, pay attention to spelling. Yes, well, while you are writing, your grammar part, your spelling, they are very, very important. They count a lot when you are writing. See, while writing your CS exam or these types of sort of professional exams, unless it is an English paper, it does not matter much, your grammar and the spelling part. That does not matter much when you are writing the legal papers, or when it is English paper, it is important, because English paper that shows your grammar and spelling, that is important there. But even in legal or other type of exams, whatever these are, you must take care of your writing. That again leaves a good impression on the examiner. Check your spellings again and again, check your grammar again and again, so that one mistake of spelling may change the whole sentence. One wrong grammar can change the whole meaning of whole sentence. So be careful. Pay attention to grammar. Next is capitalization. You know where to do this capitalization. When you start the word, first letter has to be capital. When it is a noun, when it is a name, place, you must have read nouns and pronouns also. So where to do the capitalization? Yes. When to start a word with the capital word. You know that. You must have read throughout your schooling and graduation also. I don't need to tell you that. So capitalization, but please go through all this. That is important. Grammar part I'll not be taking up. Yes, then you know where to use a and the articles. You know, a and an. Where to put an before vowels. Yes, good. So then comes singular and plural, page number 10. Singular and plural, you know where to use, what to use. And there are some plurals where you don't use S or ES. You can see that tabular form where you can check the singular. Man is men, woman, woman, tooth, teeth, mouse, mice, child, children. I don't need to tell you, ये तो बचपन से आप पढ़ते आ रहे होंगे. Then there are nouns that cannot be counted. They do not have a plural form. There are certain words like milk or happiness, research. There are certain things. Put, the word put again, it doesn't have any plural form. Then tenses, one should always use present tense when describing things. Please remember that. You have to use active voice. That is the most important part of writing. Always write in active form, not the passive. Try to avoid the passive as much as possible. Then tense also, you should always write in present tense while describing the things. This makes text sound more current and perhaps make it easier to understand. Okay, that makes text sound more current. Do not talk about the past. Do not use past tense. Always use present tense. Now the incorrect sentence is, in this article, I will demonstrate how to use genetic algorithm for finding solutions to profit maximization problems. Genetic algorithms were used by both researchers and practitioners to find an approximate solution to an optimization problem. This article extends genetic algorithm to the economic context. Now, first sentence is in future sentence. I will demonstrate. Second one is in past tense. And the third in the present tense. All sentences need to be converted to present tense. Okay. How you can write this sentence in present tense? Present tense. This article demonstrates. I will demonstrate how to use genetic algorithm. Instead of that, this article demonstrates present tense. How to use genetic algorithm for finding solution to profit maximization problems. Genetic algorithm are used by, the second sentence was in past tense, we converted into present tense, that they are used by both researchers and practitioners to find an approximate solution to an optimization problem. Page number 11. This article extends genetic algorithm to the economic context. Try to make the whole sentence, the whole paragraph in present tense. That makes the happening or event very current, right? And the reader, one who is reading, he gets a good impression. In one sentence you are writing future tense, in other you are using the past tense, then present tense. Okay, try to make it in everything in present tense only. Next is use proper punctuation. Punctuation is use of commas, correct use of comma, where to use commas, and full stop, that is punctuation. We can take one example. When 3 or more items are listed, example, he ate a sandwich, a bag of chips and a banana. Right? He ate a sandwich, comma, bag of chips and a banana. When two adjectives are used in front of noun and the order of these adjectives is not important, he was a shrewd, experienced businessman. See, I'm not supposed to cover all this. It is just about that we are just a quick revision of the grammar. You can go through, you can read all this on your own. Now you can come to page number 14. Font type. Use text formatting to aid understanding. Font. What font type should be when you are writing a professional exam, or if you are writing giving online exam, then what should be the font type? Or if you are writing a letter, then what should be the font type when it comes to the professional writing? Different fonts can be used to separate visually different text sections. For example, subheadings may use font type and size different from main text. You must be doing all this. This is very common things. Similarly, tables in many cases may be used a smaller font. Conservative uses of different font types can be a great way to improve visual separation within the text and to make it easier for the reader to understand what type of text he or she is reading. You can use different font types for different texts just to gather the attention of the reader, that what he should read. Things font is red, so what red signifies, what blue signifies, what green signifies. That's all. So there are just a few tips for writing. Now can we come to the business communication part, the other link which I had sent, do's and don'ts of professional or formal emails. This is business communication part. When you are working with the corporates, what principle you should follow when you are writing any email or business letter or any text? What do's and don'ts should be followed while writing professional or formal emails? Now emails, have you opened that? Can we proceed? The link I had sent. Okay. If you cannot find, if you joined us later, please listen. You'll find the link at the end of lecture again. Listen to me very carefully. You'll get the link, don't worry. How to write professional email. Etiquettes. The use of email has been fairly popular since early 90s, which has dramatically changed the business world in terms of clear professional communication. While we work hard to perform faster and more efficiently, there are a few social rules that must be observed when carrying out this form of communication. Anjana, can you just listen to us carefully? I'll share the link. I have shared it twice at the beginning of the lecture. I'll share it again at the end of the lecture. In the meanwhile, please listen to us carefully. Thank you, Anjana. Listening is more important. You are just diverting your attention and our attention too. Listen to us carefully, listen to me carefully. You can write down, listen carefully, write down the bullet points. You will get the link. You will get the link at the end of the session. It's not that difficult. That without link you cannot understand. Listen. Improve your listening skills. If you remember, we had done in listening skills that let the speaker finish what he wants to convey. ठीक है, हमने पढ़ा था ये. Good listening skills में, be a good listener. Let the speaker finish his message. Then you interrupt. Otherwise, you won't be able to get what we are saying. Thank you. Do's and don'ts of professional. You must be writing emails to so many people. That is very common, right? You write emails or not? Very, very common mode of communication these days, right? Then there's again certain rules for a professional email. There's a difference between formal and informal email. Informal, you write to your friend or relative or colleague. You can use any type of language, any type of text you can use the short forms, right? But when you are writing a formal email, a professional email, when you are working in a corporate, you are working for a business organization, how you should write, what rules you should follow, that is important to know, important to understand. First of all, do create a subject line. Subject, do you write subject? That is important. Subject line. First of all, do create a, I have sent sample also. We'll discuss that. Okay. Do create a subject line. What subject you are talking about, what topic you are talking about, in what relation, with what respect, in what regard you are sending this email. Subject line, that is important. It catches the attention of the reader. Otherwise, you get so many in business, when you are working somewhere in business organization, that your posts you are sitting on, you get emails in abundance. One person can go mad, and every person cannot check all the emails. So what you have to do, so that your email gets read by the person, write a subject line that catches the attention of other person. Oh, this I can read. This sounds me of interest. So do create a subject, clear subject line. Always make sure that your subject line depicts your exact reason for writing. This creates a sense of urgency that will prompt the recipient to open and read your message from the very moment they receive it. Otherwise, you receive so many emails. You just ignore them. Ignore it, ignore it. Yes, this, with the catchy subject, which catches your attention. Your subject line should be, do create a subject line. Okay, first rule is that. Second is, do not overlook the signature. Signatures are very, very important. Urvashi, I told you many times, I'm responding to your chats. Stop sending the chats. Listen to me carefully. That is important. You'll get the link. I'm repeating again and again. Show your listening skills. If you listen to me carefully, you can retain it here. You may not be reading the link then. If you are listening carefully, retain the points here. Okay? Neither you are listening properly, nor you will be able to understand when you will read the link. So please stop pouring in messages. This is the last lecture. First, you have to create a subject, catchy subject. Okay, then do not overlook the signature. Email signature is a key component of any business email. We are talking about business communication, not an ordinary or for your friend. We are talking about formal communication through emails, right? Then email signature is a key component of any business email. It tells the recipient who you are, what you do, how they may reach you. You can set the signature part automatically to appear at the end of every message you send. Apart from your email address, you can also include your complete name, job role description, phone number, company website. Email signature may consist of simple image file, even an HTML file, more interactive approach. So signatures should be there at the end of every email. So first of all, how to start with the subject line, where to end with your signature should be there. Other person must know who you are, where you work, and what is your intention, what post you are at, why should he read your email. Third is, do use a formal greeting. When you start writing, do use a formal greeting. Now, unless the person is your friend, colleague, professor, teacher, mentors, unless, there you can use hey or yo. Okay, for informal things, you can use hi, hello for colleague, teacher, professors, mentors. But if you want to keep it completely formal, it is completely professional, start with the word dear. Dear followed by their full names or surname would be the most appropriate greeting. So start with the subject line, then come to the formal greeting, dear. I am teaching you, I am telling you the formal or professional writing. Always write dear. Do not write hi and hello. Write dear. Start with dear, then their full name. Okay. Also, do not try to shorten anyone's name unless you have been granted the permission to do so. Do not try to be very informal with the person you are meeting or you are writing to him for the first time, unless he grants you the permission to do so. Do not use nicknames for that person. Do not try to shorten anyone's name. It may not be liked by that person. Next is, do not try to be funny. Yes, humor does not translate well in written communication. Don't try to be funny that I'm showing my humor part, other person will get impressed. No, it doesn't happen. When you are writing in a professional manner, follow the professional rules. Do not try to be funny. Humor does not translate well in written communication. It's hard to determine. Uske liye mushkil hai. It would be very difficult for him to get the meaning, whether you are being sarcastic or you are joking, especially when your only basis for one's tone of voice is through their choice of words and manner of writing. What you think hilarious, what you think funny may not be funny for other person. You know, it may give a bad impression. अभी हमने बात की, be specific, be to the point, especially when you are writing in a professional manner. Follow the professional code of conduct when you are talking, verbal, non-verbal, and the written part also. Okay? Do proofread the mail. Always, even when you are writing to your close friend or anybody you know, do proofread what you write. Certain words, you may write certain words which other person may not like, right? Then proofread. If there is any spelling mistake, if there is any grammatical mistake, proofread means check it again. Check it again before you send. Check it 10 times at least. Yes, whether I have framed the sentences in the right form. Am I specific? Am I not, have I not inserted the unnecessary events or happenings, or am I not trying to, create any impression about myself that I know my vocabulary is very good, I know more than you. Do not try to show that in the email. That is the rule of professional letters or emails, written part. Okay, do proofread. Before you send, before you click the send button, read it 10 times before you send. You may find a lot of mistakes in your own writing, because when you are typing, there may be many mistakes. There may be grammatical mistakes, there may be spelling mistakes, which may, altogether change the meaning of the sentence. And that irritates also the person who is reading. He may get irritated with the wrong spellings, wrong formation of sentences. He may just throw it out. I don't want to read it. Other person, you are not able to convey your message. So be specific, write, use short sentences, keep it simple, be specific. Your message should be very clear. Do not start with the stories, your background, you are very great. Do not try to show that. Okay, just mean business only. You are there to, I mean business. That should be the approach. Because everybody's time is very, very important. They cannot spare so much time for your email, lengthy email, unnecessary things. Be careful. Do proofread before you send. Read it 10 times. You will find many mistakes. Remove that. Try to shorten it. If you think, yes, you have written very lengthy email, remove unnecessary points. Try to make it very short but specific. Do not assume. Avoid one-liners when composing and replying to emails. Yes, avoid one-liners. Again, that is a very, very important point. Don't assume that what I'm writing, he will understand it. You are using short forms. You are using slangs. It's not necessary. It is not necessary that what you are using, slangs you're using, he should understand it. No, never do that. Always write full forms. Do not assume that my one-liner would be understood by him. It is not important. It is not necessary. He made the reader, one who is reading your mail, he is giving time to you. He may get irritated. So avoid one-liners. It can be frustrating for him. Next is, do make replying a habit. Yes, again, that is a very, very important part of effective communication. Reply to all the mails. Do make replying a habit. Whatever mails, whatever text you get, reply them. Even if you don't have time, you can just give a one-liner. I'll get back to you. Don't worry. Things like that. But other person should be satisfied that yes, you have read his communication, his mail. He should be satisfied. He should be at peace. Otherwise, it will keep him, very frustrated and impatient. Whether you have read it or not, whether you read it or not, he'll keep on sending other messages also, other emails. He'll keep on pouring in messages, whether you have read it, sir, have you read it, have you read? Just give one liner if you don't have time. I have seen your stuff and I'll get back to you on this. Give me some time, please. Okay, that should be the manner you should deal with the written communication part. Make replying a habit. Don't send an angry message. Yes, never do that. Apne emotions, keep your emotions at side. Do not show your emotions in the written communication. Never send an angry email, howsoever you may angry be with that person, but never send an angry email. If you are angry, take a deep breath, write whatever you want to write, send it to the draft part. Okay, think again, shant ho jao, be at peace, relax, then open it again and remove the angry portion from the written part. Then use of, we try to use emojis and smileys quite often in professional letters. Do not ever try to do that. Do not put emojis or smileys in a professional letter. Okay, because you are writing a mail which is very formal. It's a workplace code of conduct which you should follow. You can only use simple smileys with a higher up. You can use, but when your superior uses it first, if he uses a smiley, he sends a smiley or any other emojis, only then you can dare to use it. Otherwise, do not ever think to use such emojis or smileys in a professional letter. That don't give a good impression. Okay, do keep it confidential if necessary. Yes, if you think whatever mail you are writing is confidential, do not send it to anybody else, and you can tell the other person also that, sir, this is confidential. You can tell them. Don't overdo the exclamation points. You know, if you can think about, we use when we writing the text to our friends, we use so many exclamation points. Do we do that? Do we do that? We use so many exclamation points. All well, exclamation. We write, what are you doing? Answer back, exclamation signs. Do we do that? Yes, we write wow, then exclamation. Do you know what exclamation sign is? This and then niche dot. That is the exclamation sign. Yes. So in a formal letter, do not overdo the exclamation points. One is enough. If the sentence requires, only then. Otherwise, do not keep on writing exclamation. That gives a very the other person get irritated. Yes. Only where it is required, you put those signs. That is the rule of grammar. Unnecessary exclamation points, unnecessary dots, unnecessary question marks. So many question marks after one. Why you're writing? Why you're not responding? Question mark. You can't do that. Do this in professional writing. Okay. Then end with the closing line. When you are ending all your conversation, written conversation, end with the closing line. End it with simple thank you followed by the writer's name to show gratitude. Professionally, closing a message with name, title, contact detail, and email signature also works. Always end with thank you, not thanks, THANX. That is not the way. Thank you. Now we are given a sample of thank you after interview email. We can have a quick look at that. We are again subject, thank you for the job interview. Dear Mr. or Miss with last name, thank you so much for your time today. So you are catching the attention with the subject. The other person may not have time to read the whole email. He will make it what you are trying to say, why you have written through the subject line. Thank you for job interview on this date. So he'll understand, yes, you are thanking him for the interview. Okay, then dear, thank you so much. Then please go through all this. And you are ending this with best regards or thank you. That is the way to end a professional email or letter. Then your name, job title, phone number. Do not ever give your phone number. If you're already employed, do not give that phone number. Right? This is just a sample. Next is how to write business letter. See, the questions may come, they will come in the form of MCQ. So it may be asked what we should write, what we can use, what we cannot use. Can we use smileys in informal letter? No. How do we have to start? How do we have to start the email? With the subject line. Is subject line important for an email? Yes. Question may be in such form. I don't know. I'm not a examiner. I'm not a question paper setter, but we can imagine what type of question can come. So the formats, how to write, these points are important. Can we use this in formal writing? Can we use this in informal writing? Can we use this while we are communicating orally? You know, things like that. Questions may come in that form. So that is why I'm telling you the rules of writing, the rules of listening, because it is a objective type paper. Now again, same thing, how to write a business letter. When you are writing, when you are working for some company, you need to make sure that you are representing your company well. Based on your business letter, the way you write, what is impression you are making on your clients, you are making impression on your vendors, donors or others, any outside agency you are writing to, you make impression of your company. So it is very important to know the rules of writing. By knowing how to write a business letter, you can create professional documents that will impress your recipients and persuade them to take the action you want. There are some steps. First is format. Start by formatting your document properly. Use a letter size document, this size. Okay. Then next is use in paragraph form. Okay. Also choose an easy to read font. That is very, very important. Next paragraph, first point may choose an easy to read font such as Arial or Times Now Roman. That is very important. Do not use any font you like. Use the font other person can read. So the official fonts, easy to read font, Arial or Times Now Roman, keep size no smaller or larger than 12.12. Size should not be less or more than 12. 12 is considered to be the perfect size. Right? So these are the points you have to, keep in your mind. Always use black font. Font is very, very important. All these things, they may appear very small things to you, but they are very, very important when it comes to creating or taking an impression of the person. You are sitting at such a high post, right? You are writing a business letter. You want to get business, or you are writing to some other vendor or supplier or anybody. So your impression, the writing, the way you write the things, font you use, that shows your personality. It gives the impression of your personality and how serious you are about the business. So easy to read font, it should be black font. Remember last line, remember that format and font should add to the professionalism of the business letter and speak to your company's brand. Next is address and date. First you choose the font and the format, right? Then address and date. Unless your company has a pre-designed letterhead that includes address, you should begin your letter with company's address. Everything should be on the left side. You must be knowing that, how to write a letter. Now everything starts from the left side. Give your address, okay? Type it out on the top left corner of the paper. For example has been given, right? Write like this: business, INC 123 Corporate Road, anywhere, address of your company on the top left corner of the paper, unless you have a pre-designed letterhead that indicates the address. Then you write, then after a few blank lines add the date, then after a few more blank lines add the recipient's contact information. First your address, then date, then after gap write the address of that particular recipient. Okay. Then salutation. Third is salutation. This is business letter, professional letters, how you should write. Salutation, how you start: dear, if it is a formal letter, dear. Dear, with the dear, you please write the full name: dear Kim or dear Steve. Example have you given. If you don't know the recipient very well, use the person's title and the last name. Dear Dr. Babcock. Okay. If however you don't know whether recipient is a man or woman, आप नहीं जानते हैं, you could use their full name. For example, you could say dear Kim St. James. Okay. If you don't know whether he's a man or woman you are addressing to, you can use their full names. Do not write Mr. or Miss because you don't know. And as the last resort, you can use to whomsoever it may come. If you don't know anything about that person, right? Then you can start with the last resort is to whomsoever it may concern. That is the way to write. If you don't know the person whom you are writing to, whom you should address, you can write to whomsoever it may concern. That is the last resort. Then body paragraphs. We'll do it. I have given you a format also. We'll do it at that time. Next, additional pages. If you want to add additional pages, you can do so, and you can write at the end that enclosed. You can write that also, enclosed 4 pages and this attached. You can write that. Then concluding paragraph. What you will write in concluding paragraph. Yes, if you want to, for example, come to the third, fourth line, if you want to persuade a company to give you their business, make sure that you remind them of this fact, and then conclusion. Briefly restate the reason that they should choose why they should choose your company over the competition. Right? Then let the recipient know what the next step should be. Should they contact you for more information? Do you want them to write back? Are you hoping that they send money? Make sure to clearly state what you want the recipient and their company to in the concluding paragraph. Then how to close. Close your letter in a similar way how you open your letter. How to close the letter. Use the words sincerely yours, best wishes, thank you, all the best, respectfully, yours truly, right? Or yours sincerely. These are the words which are used while you close your professional letter. Whichever one you choose, sincerely or best wishes or thank you, all the best, respectfully, yours faithfully, put a comma after closing. Then sign your name in blue or black ink. If you are emailing the letter, upload a copy of your signature that you can paste into the letter after closing. Then add your contact information, email address, phone number, Twitter account, etc. Optional enclosures. If you are enclosing, then you have to write at the end ENCL, enclosures. he will understand. There are certain enclosures too. Okay, now come to the last page where sample letter format is given. You can see contact information. This is the format. Any type of letter you can write with this, whatever the topic is. It is on the top left, the address, then date, then contact information to whom you are writing, then greetings, salutation, dear, miss, Mrs, last name. Use a formal salutation, not the first name, unless you know the person well. If you do not know the person's gender, you can write, again, as I told you, the full name. If you don't know whom you have to write, whom you should write, then the last resort, to whomsoever it may concern, you can start with that. Then the body of letter, first paragraph should provide introduction, why you are writing. Then the following paragraph about your request or the information you are providing. Then the last paragraph, reiterate the reason you are writing and repeat it. Thank the reader for reviewing your request. If appropriate, you should ask politely for a written response or for the opportunity to arrange a meeting to further discuss your request. So this is how you will write the body of the letter. Then how to close. Best regards or thank you, yours sincerely, yours truly. Then put a comma after that. Then your signature, handwritten signature or otherwise. For a hard copy, use blue or black ink to sign the letter. Your fonts, your color of this thing, which color you are using, pen, black or blue, or you can give the type signatures also. Now the important thing, we have discussed this earlier also, but for legal writing, is active or passive voice preferred for legal writing? You guys are going to be the legal person of the company, CS. So again, for legal writing, when to use active or passive voice? It is an age-old question when to use active or passive voice that trips up paralegal students and attorneys alike. In 1978, this Mr. Richard, he wrote an article called Plain English for Lawyers that addressed this issue head on. He writes, when you use the active voice, subject of the sentence acts. Subject. You know what subject is? The person. He acts. For example, the union filed a complaint. When you use the passive voice, the subject of the sentence is acted upon. A complaint was filed by the union, that is passive. He describes two problems with passive voice. It takes more words and is unclear who is doing what. Okay. Here, when you use the active voice, the subject of the sentence acts. Union filed a complaint. Here, the subject is union. Okay, that is acting. When you use passive voice, the same sentence, the complaint was filed by the union. So, it is unclear who is doing what. So, what he said, especially for legal people, always use active voice. Examples have been given, passive voice and active. Ruling was made by a trial judge. The trial judge ruled that. Simple. Why to unnecessary, waste time and energy in writing long sentences? Why to write indirect? Write direct. The ruling was made by trial judge. Simple kya hai? The trial judge ruled that. Our interrogation is supported by legislative history. The legislative history supports our interpretation or interrogation. The trust was intended by the truster too. The truster intended the trust too. Other examples, Jenny was hit by the car hit Jenny. Ball was thrown by Mark threw the ball. Answer and counter claims were filed by the defendant filed answer and counter claims. So try to always write in active voice only. Why use active voice? Passive voice does have its place, but active voice makes legal writing clearer, stronger, more brief. Writing with active voice is preferred for paralegal students and is a skill that must be learned and practiced before going out into the workplace. So you guys are going to be the legal people, so must remember these points. Hopefully these examples showed you why it is better to use active voice and how to write an active voice. And I also hope that you have understood every point. Okay, these links, these PDFs, they are very helpful to read these, and you can easily answer the questions. I'll send the link again. I'll try. Just wait. I think these are enough. I have tried to cover all the aspects, but if you can take out some additional other information, you can do that. You know, you can always do that. We can just teach you the basics. You know, knowledge, it's an ocean. There's no limit. Boundless ocean है ये तो. Links have been shared by. Yeah, have you got the links now? See, I have tried to cover all the aspects of written, oral, and listening. Whatever additional information you get from net, you can refer. There are many PDFs given. You can check. I think this is enough. But still, if you want to read more, the more knowledge you acquire, the more powerful you become. Okay, I wish you all the best, everybody. You will definitely crack the exam. I know that you all guys are very, very intelligent. I have seen you during these 10 lectures. So all the best to you. My best wishes are with you. Become good professional. Become productive for the organization, and follow the ethics on personal as well as professional front. Okay. Thank you so much. All the best once again. Goodbye.